Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle podcast, the place where expert-based business owners learn how to build momentum, avoid burnout, and create sustainable success on their own terms. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, strength and conditioning specialist turned founder and CEO of Prime Performance Coaching, the personal performance strategy firm for high-achieving business owners and operators. I partner with driven entrepreneurs to implement the Prime Performance process, an awareness-based operating system that's helped me and countless solopreneurs and small business owners evolve from just being high performers on the edge of burnout to prime performers building sustainable success. The impact of Prime Performance process has led me here, where I'll show you how to get unstuck and design your own Prime Performance life without sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity. So whether you're hustling after hours or scaling your passion project, today and here you're going to get real stories, science-backed strategies, and practical frameworks to help you excel every step of your journey. It's time. Let's get intentional, build momentum, and become prime performers together. We'll get started just after this message. If you're an ambitious business owner or side hustler who's ready for a breakthrough, tired of spinning your wheels, looking to slide past burnout and build real momentum, I'd love to invite you to book a free Prime Performance strategy session with me or one of our strategists. This is your chance to get personalized insight on what's been holding you back and get a clear path to move forward. No fluff, just actionable strategy. So if you're interested, visit survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to request your spot now. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Looking forward to helping you become a prime performer. What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. Today, we've got a special guest. We've got Bart Merrell, also known as the Side Hustle Samurai. Bart helps people identify the skills, experiences, and interests that they already have and turn them into real sustainable income streams. He's built a life around multiple side hustles, never followed the traditional real job path, and even turned major life disruptions, including losing his lower left leg, into opportunities for growth, resilience, and financial security. Bart's mission is simple: help people stop leaving money and opportunity on the table. Bart, man, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of dive in. It's perfect too, because welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle. Should be right up your alley. You've never really done the traditional real job path, I should say. So where did that kind of mindset come from?
So it didn't happen on purpose. My dream job from about age 16, I watched this movie called Manhunter. Silence of the Lambs was the remake of Manhunter. But Manhunter went a little deeper than Silence of the Lambs in the mind games, and the FBI agent actually kind of had mental issues from getting in the serial killer's head. For some reason, the whole cat and mouse game intrigued me. And so from that age on, my goal is I wanted to get in the FBI and chase serial killers. That's what I wanted to do. And we happened to have a family friend that was ex-FBI. And I went in and talked to him as I was starting my college career. And he says, the easiest way in the FBI is through accounting. And then once you get in the FBI, as jobs open, you apply for the jobs. And if you're good enough to get the job, you get the job. So that was my plan. I'm going to go into accounting. It wasn't because I liked it. And as I started my accounting college career, I found out two things. I wasn't very good at it, and I really didn't like it. But it was still a means to an end. I took some time off before my last semester of college, went home on the farm to help my dad out and improve my Spanish. While I was there, I had RK surgery done on my eyes to correct my vision. I had some Border Patrol agent friends, customs agent friends that were getting this done. It was relatively new. It was before LASIK. And so I had money because I was working. I was living in small town New Mexico, no place to spend the money. So I went and got it done, got back up to school, applied for the FBI as I was wrapping up my school, and I found out that surgery automatically disqualified me from the FBI. Let's recap. I am not good at it, and I don't like accounting. And so I was devastated. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then life just kind of happened for me. I say it happened. I fell back on what I watched my dad do. Dad was a pig farmer, but he not only had a pig farm, he had his hands in many different business ventures in the agricultural industry. And so I learned the side hustle thing, or the having multiple streams of income thing, from my dad, not by him sitting me down and teaching me the birds and the bees of business, but by his example. And then anytime I wanted to do something as a kid, he encouraged me and helped me along the way, whether it was fundraising for the FBI, or I started my first side hustle at age 15 as a mobile disco. And so I would go and do dances in my hometown in New Mexico. There was nobody hiring 15-year-old DJs, so I actually had to create my own opportunity. After the football game or the basketball game on a Friday or Saturday night, I rented the community center, hired an off-duty cop for security. Mom and dad took money at the door. I spun records. Everybody had a great time. And that was my first side hustle, first business that I ever really started. And dad was always there to help me and to encourage me along the way. And so when my job got blown up, a friend of mine who worked for a bungee jump company that built bungee towers, I had also spent some time in Japan, and I spoke Japanese. And he jokingly asked me, would you like to go back to Japan? Because the company he is with just sold a bungee tower to Japan. I thought about it a second, and I unjokingly said, yeah, I think I would. And within 3 months, I was in Japan building bungee towers and pushing little Japanese people off the top of a bungee tower. And from there, it just kind of went. I look back on my life, and not only me, other people say, well, you were just lucky. And sometimes I think that, but then I have a second thought. I say, wait, my dream job got blown up. I don't know if we'll get into this, but right after 9/11, I lost a whole lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. My left leg is amputated. I don't know that I'm lucky. But, if you look at it, what is luck? Seneca says luck is when preparedness and opportunity meet. And then I add one more thing. You got to take action. Just because preparedness and opportunity meet, if you don't take action, nothing's going to happen. And that's what I've done all my life. Anything that crosses my path, good, bad, or ugly, I always ask one question. Well, maybe more than one, but I start with the one question. Can I monetize it? And I don't monetize everything, but I always ask the question.
I love that. And you speak to that whole adding that extra part into the quote there from Seneca. It's really powerful, because I feel like so many entrepreneurs or even professionals where they're like, oh, I have this hobby or I have this skill, I want to start to monetize it, where they like then go through the stages to get like file an LLC or whatever. They start to set it up. They still sit around waiting for permission or waiting for people to come to them. But you instead go out and create those opportunities and take that action to go and do that. So that's powerful there. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Well, and it started at a young age, because at 15, no one was going to hire me, and I had to create my own. And once again, dad helped me and encouraged me. But seriously, I went to the community center. I had to talk to the guy that would rent out the community center. I had to sign my name on the dotted line. I think my dad probably did too, because I was too young, but I did sign. I hired the off-duty cop. And then, like I said, mom and dad took money at the door. I spun the records. $600-700 a night as a 15-year-old kid. It's pretty good.
So bring us back to, okay, you're at the bungee towers, you're living large. Where do you go from there?
So I'm at the gym that I went to in Japan, and I'm fairly big for a Japanese, for an American. Well, not for an American, but for a Japanese. I'm 6'4", 220, 230 pounds. And so for the Japanese, I was kind of scary, and nobody would talk to me for the first couple of weeks because I was big and because they didn't know if I spoke Japanese or not. And finally, this one guy, he comes up to me in the gym and he says, "Hello." I kind of go, "Hello." And then I start speaking Japanese to him. And he's like, "Oof, I'm glad you speak Japanese because I was done at Hero." And we and him became friends. He was a big rig driver in Japan. And about a year and a half or so after we met and became friends, he said he wanted to stop driving big rig and start importing camp trailers from America, and then Ford and Dodge pickups to pull the camp trailers. And he asked me if I would help. I didn't know how to do it. I thought he did, so I said yes. Turns out he didn't know how to do it, and we both learned as we went along. We figured it out. We're still doing that to this day. That was in 1997 when we started. And so just when things crossed my path, I asked, can I monetize it? And then like this one, I didn't know how to do it, but I said yes. And so I was able to make a quick decision and say yes, take advantage of the opportunity. And it's done me very well for how many years now? What is that? Almost 29.
Wow. Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
And you have Richard Branson. He has a quotation that says, if someone brings you an amazing opportunity and you don't know how to do it, say yes and learn how to do it as you go. And you have to have that attitude. You got to be willing to take the risk and be willing to learn.
Yeah, I love that because somebody recently had talked to me and they told me that entrepreneurship is a lot like jumping out of a plane and then trying to build a plane on your way down. So it's like frantically trying to figure it out, putting pieces together, seeing what sticks and what works and what doesn't. And that I think speaks to what we're kind of talking about here is you got to take the action. You got to be prepared to have the parts, and you got to just go and put it together. And if it flies, it flies. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. You kind of hopefully move on. And the question I want to ask here is, through the years, you've gone through different, how many different businesses and side hustles do you think you've started over the years?
I have no idea. I haven't counted, but I know it's under 20, but probably more than 15.
So then how do you know, like through life, like which ones to keep, which ones to let go, which ones to just bury and never talk about again kind of thing?
I don't. You just let it happen, and you have to create things. It's not just going to happen. So I don't want you to mistake what I said. Mm-hmm. But you have to start, you have to take a risk. So I have a similar analogy to the airplane thing, but mine is jumping off a bungee tower. So I am a bungee jump master, meaning I have the authority to assist little Japanese people off the top of an 8-story tower. On our biggest day, we did 783 people off this tower. But sometimes during the week, I was left alone up at the top of the tower, just me and my brilliant mind. Now, our bungee tower has this stunned person airbag at the bottom of the tower just in case someone falls. But I don't know how big it was, but you can fall outside of it. And in theory, one could jump from the top of the tower without a bungee cord, hit the mat, and be okay. I hadn't seen it, but I had heard that it had been done. And so I'm sitting up at the top of the tower, and my brilliant mind's asking me, you think you can do that? So I walked over to the edge, and I looked down, and I'm like, I'm not that crazy. But I kept thinking, and my brilliant mind says, okay, you can jump with a cord attached, wait for the bouncing to stop, and then you just unhook and let go, and now you're falling from 6 stories instead of 8 stories, and you can do that. So I jumped with a cord attached, tried to unhook, and I couldn't unhook. So I'm back up at the top of the tower. And when we attach the bungee cord to one of our clients, we have this about a foot long, 1 inch wide nylon strap with a carabiner on one end. And I was like, okay, I can take one of those straps, hook it on itself, make a loop, get 2 of those, put them at the end of the bungee cord, and then I have handles. Brilliant, right? I could just hang on to the cord, jump, wait for the bouncing to stop, and then all I have to do is let go and I can fall and hit. And so I made this contraption. I went to the edge of the tower and I jumped, just hanging onto the bungee cord. I waited for, obviously I'm okay because I'm here. That's not why I lost my leg, just so you know. We'll talk about that later. But I waited for the bouncing to stop and then I just let go and fell to the mat. The point of the story is I didn't know for sure that I could let go, that I could hang on. That's what I meant. I didn't know for sure that I could hang on to the handles. But I had jumped enough that I knew the pressure that I was going to feel, and I was probably 99% sure that I would be okay. And as an entrepreneur, as a business person, whether you think that's brilliant or crazy what I did, you have to be a little bit of both and willing to take the step out there, to take that first jump and see what there is to see. And then as things go, you have to adjust and figure out, okay, this isn't working. What do I do? This isn't working. What do I do? This isn't working. Is it time to leave it alone? And you're going to know when that time is. And here's another quick analogy. I have too many stories to share. But as a kid, I grew up having a horse. I don't remember not having a horse. But they weren't my horses as a kid. And at 7 years old, I had a horse named George. It was my brother's hand-me-down. My brother was a roper, a team roper. And this horse would throw its head every time you threw the loop, and it would block the rope from going to where it was supposed to go. So I got it as the kid. I went to my dad and I said, Dad, when is George going to be my horse? And he's like, George is your horse. What are you talking about? I said, no, Dad, when is George going to be my horse? And he says, when you can put the saddle on by yourself. And we're not talking a little English saddle. We're talking a Western saddle, adult saddle, probably weighed more than I did at the time. But I was excited. I went and grabbed George, tied him in the back pole in the back of the house, went and grabbed a chair from the table. I went and grabbed my saddle, drug it over to the chair, picked it up as much as I could to put it on George, just enough to hit the side of him, and George stepped away and I fell on my face. But I did this every Saturday morning after cartoons. You're too young to probably remember cartoons on Saturday morning, but that's what I did. George was tied up to the back and I tried and I tried and I tried. Finally, at age 12, I was able to get that on. Why did I continue for so long? It's because I had people that would help me, mentors or what have you, but it was my dad and my brother. If I couldn't get it on, which I couldn't for the longest time, I would go get them. They would put it on the saddle. I would watch them. I see that I just needed to learn and grow, and I would eventually get there. And I put the saddle on at 12 years old, and George was my horse. I was excited, but it was just in time to sell George and buy me my roping horse named Buck. But the whole process of knowing when to let go. Conversely, back in the early 2000s, I thought I was going to be a poker player. And I could play poker online, and I was going to be in the World Series of Poker and win millions. And so I was playing poker online for probably 6 or 8 months. And I would probably play 8 hours a day, maybe 6 to 8 hours a day. And after that 6 months, 8 months, I did the math. And I think I was still positive, like, I don't know, $600 or $700. But I did the math and it came out to like 29 cents an hour. And I was like, this ain't going to pay the bills. Oof. And so I gave up, or I put it on my back burner. Do I want to still maybe play in the World Series of Poker someday? Maybe. But it's not the burning thing that it used to be. Mm. So why is that? I didn't have that mentor, that guide to help me on the poker side. I read a lot of books. I studied it harder than I studied my accounting books. But I didn't have that person that was there to guide me. And the result could have been the same. My mentor, my teacher, whatever you want to call him, if he was there, one of said, Bart, you suck at poker. You better give it up. I don't know if the outcome would have been different. But I gave it up and it's on the back burner. I lasted 6, 8 months. Why did I last so long with George the horse? because I knew I could do it, I had the mentor, I could see it being done.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how you decide when to let something go and when to not let something go. Do you see the progress you're making? Is it attainable? Do you have someone to help you along the way? I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think you just shared a lot of great lessons there. Even from just the bungee jumping, at least from what I'm getting, to be successful in side hustles, you need to have the curiosity to see what you can do, kind of push the envelope a little bit. You got to be able to learn and adapt for when you are moving forward. You have to have a mentor that can kind of show you what you don't know so you can have the faith that you can achieve it and find those steps. And then also that ability to like recognize when it is time to change and shift into something else. So, geez, that was just like a masterclass itself right there in
And I'm
entrepreneurship.
sorry, I just talk and talk and talk, but you're exactly correct. You have to be willing to take that first step. And once again, it goes back to taking action. And a lot of people, that first step is the hardest. Once they get that first step and they get a little bit behind them, then that momentum continues to go, and it just goes on from there.
So, okay, so we got this, we're going through there. And the real reason you stopped poker was because that's where you lost your leg?
Yeah. And I was still positive. I didn't lose an arm or a leg in my poker. But the reason I stopped is just because, so I have a friend, I shouldn't out him, but he is still addicted to poker. But he doesn't play for money, he just plays for free.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am one who, I wasn't playing poker necessarily for the enjoyment. It was a business.
Mm-hmm.
I did enjoy it, but I didn't enjoy it enough if I wasn't making money. And 29 cents an hour wasn't enough to get me out of bed.
No, definitely not. So, so going through a lot of these different side hustles and businesses, and where would you kind of say your where do you think your passion is? Is it in the exploration of different ventures and things? Because more times than not, most people kind of start a side hustle because it is like a passion project or it's a hobby that they're like, oh, I could probably make some money doing this hobby. What about for yourself? What's kind of directed it?
So for the longest time, it was just what I do. I mean, it's what I've done all my life. But when I really got serious about it was several years ago. My wife, she's Japanese, and when she goes home to visit her family, a lot of times she does her health checks. And she called me once from Nagoya, Japan, and she calmly informed me that the initial test indicated cancer. Obviously, your first thought is, I could lose my wife. My second thought was, we can't afford this. I can't afford to drop everything by and be by her side as she goes through whatever it is she's going to have to go through. Now, we were lucky. After 8 sleepless nights, the biopsy came back negative for cancer, and we just had to have a surgery. She had to have a surgery, not me. But I got a wake-up call. Why do we have to have a wake-up call to get prepared? I say, what happens when what happens happens? When life happens, are you prepared? Why do we have to wait for that wake-up call to get prepared? Why not get prepared before it happens? Because when it's before something happens, we can think clearly. We can make decisions properly. But when we're in the middle of that, whatever it is, that life event, you don't think clearly. And so get prepared before it happens. And that's kind of what motivated me to do more things, to build multiple streams of income. And I paid closer attention to whatever, like I said, whatever crosses my path, good, bad, or ugly. I always ask that question, can I monetize it? And I think I did it before because, like I said, the bungee jump, and then in Japan, I did hooked up with my trailer guy, became another side hustle. I hooked up with another amusement park ride company out of Germany and built a couple of things in Japan and a couple of things in the US. And I just naturally did it. Whenever you pay more attention to what's going on around you, you recognize that you're leaving stuff on the table. I was in Japan. So I took the first bungee jump to Japan in 1994.
Mm.
And I'm going there, and there's these big nets, these huge nets that were long. And I'm just like, man, what is that? And it was called F1 Golf. I'm like, man, what's F1 Golf? Went in, and it was a driving range. So it would be the equivalent to what Top Golf is now in Japan in 1994. And I thought to myself, I should take that to America. But I'm a 24-year-old kid, and I started doing a little research and asking, and there were just too many zeros involved in this number of dollars I was going to need to do it that I didn't push it. I didn't have the gumption to do it yet. And I often look back and think, what if I had brought that over to America? Because it was amazing. The ball comes up out of the ground on a tee. It's already mounted on the tee. You adjust the level of the tee with a little up and arrow button. You hit the ball, the tee goes back down, comes back up with another ball. And you had this card that had these punches on it that you put into a machine. And let's say it had 100 balls on it, and you just hit till you're out of balls. And it was amazing how fast you could run through 100 balls, and you'd have to go buy another card. And I'm like, man, this is a money machine. I need to do this. But then I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the mentor to do this. And I sometimes think back, what if I had? What if I had taken the chance and jumped at that chance? How different would my life be? Not that I hate my life and what I do, but how much bigger would I be if I would have took that chance? And so once I had the cancer scare with my wife, that is when I started getting more serious, and anything that came by, don't mean to throw my wife under the bus, but she told me once, giving me a little bit more than I bargained for, and I would like to see a little less of you. Meaning that I'd been working on my before picture for long enough, and it was time to start on the after picture. I was too fat. And when I agreed with her, I said, okay, I need to lose weight. My first thought was then, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to get paid for it. Like Marie Osmond and Dan Moreno at the time was doing the Nutrisystem commercials. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, my wife wants me to give her what she bargained for, which would be get back to my wedding weight. I immediately went to GoDaddy, typed in backtomyweddingweight.com. It was available. I bought it. I thought I was going to be able to turn that into a stream of income in a few months. Took me 7+ years before I found something that worked for me. And the thing about it was, I didn't really want to diet and exercise and lose weight. But when I found something that worked for me, I turned it into a stream of income. We'll go to my amputation. I found out about October of 2023 that I was going to have my left leg amputated. After the shock and awe was over, I said, okay, I don't like this, but it needs to happen. It's going to happen. How can I monetize it? 6 months post-op, I'm sitting in a appointment with my prosthetist. And the conversation kind of went like this. I said, Scott, I interviewed 3 other prosthetists before I decided on you. One of them had a guy that I could talk to that had his leg amputated, that I could ask questions like, how bad is this going to hurt? How long until I'm going to get back on my feet? How am I going to feel? I said, Scott, you don't have a guy. I'm your guy. And I said, Scott, I don't want a job. I want to talk to the people that need my help, and you pay me. Because your competition has a guy, you need a guy. We did our negotiations. I'm basically on like a retainer system. I'm a contractor for him, and I turned my leg into a stream of income. Now, if you don't need to have your leg cut off, don't go chopping off body parts to start a side hustle. But when bad things happen, they say when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I say, if you're making lemonade, you might as well build the lemonade stand and sell the stuff. And so that's just the way my mind thinks, and the way I try and help others learn how to think. Learn how to think like I do, so that they don't leave money on the table.
Hey, sorry for the interruption. It's me, Rob, and I hope you're enjoying today's conversation. But I wanted to remind you, if you're a driven entrepreneur or an expert-based business owner who wants to get unstuck, create sustainable momentum, and really start moving forward, I've got a free resource just for you. You can download my 5 keys to clarity and momentum. It's a PDF guide. It's a quick read, and it'll help you cut through the noise, clarify your next steps, and start building the systems that you need for sustainable success. So if you're new here, or if you haven't grabbed it yet, this is the first step to applying these principles in your own journey. So head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/5keys and download your free copy today. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/5keys. I love that because I feel like I'm that's a similar kind of individual where I'm driving and I'm late somewhere. I get stuck behind somebody moving super slow and I'm like, oh, this is terrible, blah, 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 blah. But like, then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is like the world or universe or whatever telling me I need to slow down because I'm going a little too fast. And if I'm going too fast, I might not pay attention and then something could happen. So I look at that, I'm like, all right, so there's a silver lining here. Maybe I'm a few minutes late, whatever. So you're saying that that's essentially what you do with other people, but you tell them then how to monetize that. Why don't people think like this more?
Because it's not taught in school. You're taught in school to go get an education, get a job, stay with that job, hopefully have a pension when you retire. And so it's not taught. It's not even taught how to be an entrepreneur and build a business. You're taught to go get a job. And so people, unless you have a dad like my dad, you don't think like I do. And you think like the rest of the world. And this was kind of shown to me. I was volunteering at a drug rehab center, teaching people how to tell their stories. So I was helping them with public speaking. And I was listening to Jenny tell her story about how growing up, she didn't realize that everybody didn't have her life. Because when her and her family were out in public, they were relatively normal. They acted normal. It wasn't until she got home that the abuse and neglect happened. And until she went to college and had roommates that had different lives with better lives, she didn't realize that that was even an option. And I think a day or two before I was sitting I had read an article, or someone shared an article on Facebook that was titled, "How to Live on $28,000 or Less." And I'm just like, why would I even read that article? Why not give me an article on how to make more than $28,000 a year? And so whenever she was telling her story, I'm thinking, that's the same way people feel about making money and how I'm different than other people. Because I have even own family members of mine would say, why don't you just get a real job? I don't know that I could. I mean, now I'm sure I couldn't do a real job, but back then, I don't know that I could have done a real job back then. It's so nice I probably work more and longer hours than a real job, but it's stuff that I want to do. And so what I've done is I've created a process to where I help people start to think like I do. And then once you get the wheels rolling in their head, get them thinking, I don't do anything. I don't have an agenda when I work with people. I'm not trying to get you to join my network marketing company. I'm not trying to get you to sell my stuff or sell me. I want you to figure out what in your life experiences you can take and monetize. And I'll just give you a quick example. I was working with a friend of mine. She's a bus driver, a school bus driver. And she wanted to buy a limousine bus and take people to and from events, basketball games, hockey games, parties, weddings, whatever the event. And so I said, okay, I know you have your agenda already. You know what it is you want to do. I still want you to go through my process. And so my process isn't simple. It's not a big deal. It's okay. Make a list of what the things you like to do. Make a list of the things you need to do. Make a list of the things you're already doing. And then we'll analyze those lists and refine that list until some gold nuggets pop up to the top. And so I had her start making her list, and I said, okay, between now and the next time we meet, just continue to grow this list, because you're going to think of other ideas as you go along. About 2 days later, she calls me up. She's like, I'm so mad at you. I'm like, what? I woke up at 3:00 the other morning and I couldn't go back to sleep. And she's a bus driver, school bus driver. She had to leave, 5:00 in the morning to go get on her bus. And so I said, well, why? What happened? So I figured out that if I have my own vehicle, my own bus, my own truck, whatever the vehicle is, I can go take a test with the state. Cost me about $400. Then I can be a person that gives the driving test for people who are getting their CDLs. And she won't even have to advertise, because the people go in to take the written test and the state hands them a sheet of paper of all the people qualified to give the test. And she could charge $200 to $250 pop for people doing that driving test for people off of something she already knew. All she had to do was go take a test. And I didn't think of that. She thought of that. And that's the way it is with most people. I just get them started thinking, and then they think of what it is that they think of. And I'm just helping them open their eyes to the stuff that is too close to them for them to see.
Yeah, I love that too, because I think as we're going through life, we kind of fall into this like one lane of what we think we develop these skills and habits and such, and then we kind of fall into a lane that gets carved out from what we do. And I feel like what you're kind of teaching them is like, hey, look, you've got all these things right here. Look how many other lanes there are that are so close to what you do. All you got to do is just dip your toe over here a little bit, dip over there a little bit, and then you can capitalize on all of these different lanes.
Absolutely.
That's powerful stuff. And I remember when we first connected and we were speaking, you had said something that kind of stuck out to me, and you had mentioned how you believe that multiple streams of income isn't optional anymore. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, when life happens, so whenever the cancer scare happened with us, my second thought was, we can't afford this. When I lost my leg, even though I had multiple streams of income, one of my streams of income is a dog trainer. I'm a dog trainer because I adopted a Rottweiler puppy that didn't know the word no. And I had to learn to train my own dog, so why not get paid to play with other people's dogs? But when I was having my leg cut off, once again, that financial worry is up at the top. So no matter what your life event that is happening, it could be cancer, it could be Christmas. If you're not prepared for Christmas, it's financially devastating, because I heard on the radio the other day, the spirit of giving is now over. Now you're getting the credit card bills and you have to pay for it. And that's exactly it. You do these things, at Christmas time, and you're paying for it in January if you're not prepared financially. It could be a major car event. I mean, I think the number is a car expense of more than $500 can affect someone greatly in their finances. It can put them maybe not into financial despair, but it can put a little hiccup in their finances. And so even just the small things like a car repair or an appliance repair or a house repair can cause major damage to your finances, and you need to be prepared for that, because what are you going to do? Go get a part-time job? That's going to take more time away from the things you want to do, and it's probably not going to pay you as much as a decent side hustle.
Yeah, I love that. So, like, spending the time getting paid for the things that are more in your lane than go picking up a job just to collect a minimum wage paycheck kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. So because you work with a lot of individuals starting multiple side hustles and a lot of beginners kind of in this world, what do you see as one of the biggest mistakes that most people starting a side hustle kind of make?
picking the wrong one. And, when I'm working with someone, I'm talking with someone, I can see when they're talking about the one that they probably should do. I don't influence them necessarily. I'll say, oh, that's a good one or something like that. But you can see it in their countenance. Their countenance changes. They're excited when they're talking. It's just different. They can explain it to where you understand it and you think, I might need that. So they can explain it better. You can see it in their face that they're more excited. And I will say to them, that looks pretty good. You were able to explain that really well. But I still want them to make the decision, so it's their decision. But I can see it when I'm talking to them. And sometimes they'll pick the wrong one, or they get going down the one that they think they want, and then they start to doubt themselves. So picking the right one and then going down the path, you start to doubt yourself, and you kind of want to pivot and do something else. But then you start something else and you have the same thing happen. So now we have a different roadblock. And the only way they're going to get through that roadblock is to complete one. Once they get their first one and they finish it, they're going to have more confidence and more credibility in their own self, in their own head. I can do this. I've done it once. I can do it again. And so for the first one, you need to pick the right one. And then, like we were talking before, that first step, that first action is always hard. But once you take that first step and get there, your momentum will help you continuing to go forward.
I like that. So I want to hear your take on, some people say not to spread out and try to start multiple streams of income. They say to stick with like one and go much deeper with that. Is there a benefit of like why do multiple versus that one?
Okay, so you've heard the saying, right? Jack of all trades, master of none. I hear that all the time. And people say, you know what that means, right? And I'll say to them, I do, but do you? Because you know what the full quotation is? Jack of all trades, master of none, though oftentimes better than the master of one. It is a completely different meaning than the way people use it today. And your average millionaire, or your millionaires on average, have 5 to 7 streams of income. So what do you think they know that you don't know? If you have one stream of income, if I have a dog training business and that's all I have and I have to chop my leg off, that income's dead for a while. It was so much easier to relax and get better knowing that I had other streams of income coming in. Even though my dog training was probably my biggest one at the time, it was just, I had the relief of knowing that, okay, this is coming in, this is coming in, this is coming in. And then I had other things, my Japanese trailer sale stuff that I do, that I could still do, that may have not had a stream coming in, but I think I had something come in right at the perfect time to help me offset the money that I was losing from not training dogs. And so just having those multiple streams coming in protects you when something goes wrong. And so that's, to me, it makes sense. And you do have the issue of spreading yourself too thin where you're not doing anything good. So you got to have a balance. And I don't know if you've heard the idea that work-life balance isn't ever balance. It's just a matter of, it's like a pendulum swinging back and forth. And you kind of have to, you're working too much here. Okay, you need a little break, take a break, and then come back and hit it hard. And so you need to not spread yourself so thin that you can't take this balance from one side hustle to the other, to the other, to the other. And if you get one going that you can maintain with less hands-on, where it's somewhat passive, like rental properties or something like that, that is always better. My dog training business, when I first started, I worked 388 days without a day off. I had created myself a nice paying job. When I took a break, I had to take a break to get knee replacement surgery, and I realized the mistakes I had made. When I came back to doing it, I put it to where the schedules were dogs came in here, dogs go home here, took time off. Dogs here, took time off. And so I restructured it to where it wasn't a good paying full-time job. I restructured it to where it was a side hustle, to where I could still do the other things that I wanted to work on. And then you have right now with AI, you can save so much time, you can save money and increase your chances of success. There isn't a better time in the history of the world to try and start a business than it is right now. The information is literally at your fingertips. No one has an advantage over you if you learn how to use AI properly. And there's so many things you can do yourself quickly that you would normally have to pay someone else to do for you. And so you can just save time and not have to worry about, okay, I just need to focus on one thing, because you can do multiple things in the same lane. Or like you said earlier, just a hair over.
Yeah.
So once again, I learned dog training to train my dog. I train other people's dog. I get paid very well to play with other people's dogs. I'm learning AI, and I've been learning it for probably a year and a half now. And I'm very proficient at it now, to where I get paid to build stuff for other people. And it's just a way to, I'm learning it for myself. Why not turn that into a stream of income and monetize that? And so that's where I look at my list is continually growing when it comes to what do you like to do? What do you need to do? What are you already doing? It's a little bit different. I don't ask those questions. Just anything that crosses my path, I ask, can I monetize it? And then I go further. How can I monetize it?
I love it. I love it. And if somebody listening right now is like, hey, I need to get in touch with Bart so I can start my side hustle, get this rolling, or start multiple side hustles, where do they start? How do they get in touch with you? And what does that kind of look like?
Okay, so number one, I'm most active on Facebook, just Bart Merrell. I'm in Utah. You'll see me swinging this samurai sword lightsaber-like thing in my profile picture right now, but that'll change all the time. I got a free gift for everybody. It's the 1K blind spot assessment. In 10 minutes, it'll tell you the things you're good at, and it'll tell you where your blind spots are and give you advice on how to fix those blind spots. That will connect you with me, and we'll be able to correspond via email, text, and then even do a free assessment where we just sit and talk, a free consultation. I call it a strategy session. And it's just, you can connect with me. Those two places. I'm on LinkedIn. I got a YouTube channel called Bart Merrell, the Side Hustle Samurai YouTube channel. Connect with me there.
Sweet. And so how do they get the assessment or the quiz or assessment?
I would need to tell you that, wouldn't I? So it is at youridealsidehustle.com.
Love it. youridealsidehustle.com. Or just reach out to you on any of the socials. You probably send it right over to them.
Yep.
All
yes.
right. Perfect. All right, Bart. Well, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your experiences and your insights and sharing a lot of valuable information on how you've kind of started side hustles and how you've made them successful, and taking the time too. I know you got a lot of different projects and stuff going on, so I appreciate you carving this out of your schedule so you can hop on and share with everybody here on surviving the side hustle. But I'd like to, before I let you go, I want to ask you one final question. And if someone listening to this episode just does one thing differently in terms to their side hustle and such, what should that one thing be?
Okay, right now, AI is huge. If you don't learn AI, and not just for fun, if you don't learn AI and how to use it to help you improve your business, you're going to get left behind. And so I would suggest that find someone who knows how to use AI for business and learn from them, and then use that to improve your business. Like I said, saves you time, saves you money, and it'll increase your chances of success.
I love it. I love it. Bart, thank you so much for coming on today, man. Looking forward to connecting again in the future.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's all for today's episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found value here, please don't forget to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening from. And please create a shared success by helping us share this episode with someone who you think would benefit from today's conversation. And finally, don't forget to connect with us at survivingthesidehustle.com and give us a follow on socials so that we can take part in following along in your entrepreneurial journey. Until next time, remember, success doesn't require a complete sacrifice, just strategy, momentum, and the right support.